welcome you in the lecture series of Basics of Communication Engineering. It is 20th lecture of this series. In previous lecture, we have discussed about different types of sampling techniques, their merits and demerits, and also the comparison between these techniques. In this lecture, I would like to discuss about pulse amplitude modulation and pulse width modulation. And the outline of this lecture are pulse amplitude modulation PAM and pulse width modulation PWM. And in the objective of this lecture, you will able to explain generation and detection of PAM PWM signals and advantages and disadvantages of PAM PWM signals. In PAM, the amplitude of the pulse carrier is changed in accordance with the instantaneous amplitude of the modulating signal xt. So the information is contained in the amplitude variation of the PAM signal. The carrier is in the form of trains of narrow pulses, as you can see in the figure. This is the pulsed carrier, and if we compare the PAM system with the sampling process, we can find that these two processes are identical. As we have discussed, the practical sampling techniques PAM also can be of two types, natural PAM and flat top PAM. And here you can see the amplitude of your pulsed carrier is changed in accordance with the amplitude of the modulating signal. So we will have here the double polarity PAM signal. Now the generation of PAM signal. The block diagram of generation of PAM signal is on your screen. The continuous modulating signal xt is passed through the low pass filter. The low pass filter will band limit this signal to FM, and all the frequency components higher than the frequency FM are removed. The band limiting is necessary to avoid the aliasing effects in the sampling process. The pulse train generator generates a pulse train at a frequency fs greater than 2 fm. So here the frequency of the pulse train is it should be greater than 2 fm. So the Nyquist criteria is satisfied, and the separation between each pulse train, it is ts, or you can say this is the pulse duration or interval between the pulse. The rectangular narrow pulse carrier pulses generated by the pulse train generator would carry out the uniform sampling in the multiplier block to generate the PAM signal. As you can see in this figure, in the multiplier block there are two inputs. First input is the band limiting baseband signal, and other is the pulse train. So at the output of this multiplier we will get the PAM signal. And the generation of a natural PAM signal, it can be done with the chopper switch, and the chopper switch is operated with the sampling function ct or train of pulses, and this chopper circuit can be realized using MOSFET, and at the gate of the MOSFET we will apply the train of pulses, and at the output of the or across the RL load RL we will get the natural PAM signal. And the output of PAM signal, you can see when the switch is on of this MOSFET, then it will acquires some value of amplitude according to the modulating signal, and at this point it will follow the amplitude of the modulating signal, and at this point when the switch is off, then the value is goes to zero of the pulse train, and the same procedure will be continue. So the amplitude will follow the amplitude of the modulating signal xt. So the generated pulse are known as natural PAM signals. The natural PAM is rarely employed in practical. Instead, the flat top PAM is employed in practice. The flat top PAM can be obtained by using sample and hold circuit. And the spectrum of a natural PAM signal, as we discussed in the previous lecture, it can be given as SF is equal to tau A by Ts summation minus infinity to infinity sinc function of n fs tau into x f minus n fs. And we have already discussed about the working of these figures, and in the natural PAM is rarely employed in practice. Instead, the flat top PAM is employed. The flat top PAM can be obtained using sample hold circuit, And the figure of this sample hold circuit, as you can see in this figure, there are two types of FET. The here the sampling switch and this the discharging switch. So when the discharging switch is on, it acquire the amplitude of the pulse train will be according to the modulating signal, and this amplitude will be continue or will be constant. And when the discharging switch is on, then the value of the amplitude of the pulse train will be 0, and so we will get here the constant amplitude for the duration of the pulse tau. So we will get here the flat top samples, and we have already discussed about the sample and hold circuit and flat top PAM signal and in previous lecture. So in this point, the spectrum of the flat top PAM signal, it can be given as SF is equal to Fs summation xn minus nfs into hf. Now the detection of PAM signal. The PAM signal, natural PAM signal, can be detected or demodulated by passing it through the low pass filter. The cutoff frequency of the low pass filter is adjusted to FM. So the cutoff frequency of the low pass filter is FM, so that all the higher frequency ripples is removed, and the original modulating signal is recovered back. The PAM detection and corresponding waveform, as you can see in this figure, this is the PAM signal, and after passing this through, we will get this type of a waveform, and this will approximately gives you the waveform that is corresponding to the modulating signal or baseband signal. And from the waveform, this is the detection of a natural PAM signal. Now the detection of flat top PAM signal. As we have discussed in previous lecture, due to aperture effect, an amplitude distortion as well as is introduced in flat top sampled signal. The distortion can be corrected by connecting an equalizer after the reconstruction filter, or you can say low pass filter. As you can see in figure, after this low pass filter we will use equalizer to compensate for this aperture effect developed in the flat top sampling process. Now, comparison of PAM techniques. We have discussed the comparison between natural sampling and flat top sampling, and that comparison is also the comparison between natural PAM and flat top PAM techniques. And you can refer the previous lecture to understand the comparison between PAM techniques, means natural PAM and flat top PAM techniques. Now, the transmission bandwidth of PAM signal. Let tau is the width of each pulse in flat top sampled PAM, and Ts is the duration between adjacent samples. And let tau is very less than Ts, and since Ts is equal to sampling duration, it is 1 by Fs. Fs is the sampling frequency, and from the sampling theorem you know that the sampling frequency Fs should be greater than equal to 2 Fm. So from here we can say that Ts will be less than equal to 1 by 2 Fm. So here tau less than equal to Ts and Ts less than equal to 1 by 2 Fm. So from here we can have tau is very less than 1 by 2 Fm, and the transmission bandwidth Bt without much signal distortion need to satisfy the following equation. Bt is greater than equal to 1 by 2 tau, and 1 by 2 tau will be very greater than Fm. So this condition should be satisfied for the transmission bandwidth. So the transmission bandwidth is inversely proportional to the pulse width tau of a PAM signal. You can see pulse width is greater than equal to 1 by 2 tau, so it is inversely proportional to the width duration. The transmission bandwidth should be as small as possible. The transmission bandwidth should be as small as possible. It can reduce the increasing the pulse width tau, but this will increase the aperture error. And the transmission bandwidth Bt is much larger than the maximum frequency contained in xt. So bandwidth Bt is very greater than Fm. Now, advantages and disadvantages of PAM signal. There are not many advantages of a PAM system except that for the simplicity of the generation and detection, but there are many disadvantages, and they are: amplitude of PAM signal changes according to the amplitude of modulating signal. So, like amplitude modulation, the effect of additive noise is maximum in PAM, and the added noise cannot be removed easily. And the transmission bandwidth BT required for PAM signal is too large as compared to maximum frequency content in XT, means BT is very large from FM. And due to the change in the amplitude of PAM pulses, the transmitted power is not constant. So these are some disadvantages of PAM signal. Now, the effect of noise on PAM signal. The amplitude of a pulse carrier is being changed in proportional with the amplitude of the modulating signal in PAM. So all the information is contained in the amplitude variation of the PAM signal. When the PAM signal travels over the communication channel, noise gets added to it, and the noise distorts the amplitude of the PAM signal. Since the information is contained in the amplitude, the noise will contaminate the information, so the noise performance of PAM system is very poor. The pulse width amplitude modulation and pulse position modulation (PPM) system have better noise performance. Now, if we talk about the application of the PAM signal, the PAM is used in PAM TDM system, and it is also used in PAM FM system. We will discuss about this later. And now the pulse width modulation (PWM). The other type of analog pulse modulation is the pulse width modulation, in which the carrier pulse duration varies in proportional with the amplitude of the modulating signal. So the information is contained in the width variation, and this is similar to FM. As noise is normally additive noise, it changes the amplitude of the PWM signal, and as the information is contained in the width variation, it is unaffected by the amplitude variations introduced by the noise. So PWM system is more immune to noise than the PAM signal. And you can see this is the modulating signal, and width of the carrier pulse is going to change in accordance with the modulating signal. So when the modulating signal is high, the duration of the pulse is large, and when the modulating signal is low, then the pulse duration it will be less. So there is pulse width variation in accordance with the modulating signal. Now, generation of PWM signal. The block diagram of generation of PWM signal is in figure. Here a sawtooth generates a sawtooth signal of a frequency fs. Here the frequency fs, and so the sawtooth signal is, in this case, is a sampling signal. It is applied to the inverting terminal of the comparator. This is comparator. In the inverting terminal, the sawtooth signal is applied, and the modulating signal xt is applied to the non-inverting terminal of the comparator. The comparator output will remain high as long as the instantaneous amplitude xt is higher than that ramp signal, and this gives rise a PWM signal at the comparator output. So as you can see in this figure, this is the sawtooth wave, the ramp signal, and the value of the pulse, it will be high whenever it is high. So we will get the different duration, different pulse duration of the pulses. So here the pulse duration, you can see the pulse duration, it is varies in accordance with the your message signal. So whenever it is high, and up to that, the pulse duration will be there, and after the whenever the modulating signal is low, then it will be, it will give you the low zero magnitude of the pulse. So at the output we will get the PWM signal. Here in the figure you can see that the leading edge of the PWM waveform coincide with the falling edge of the ramp signal. So the leading edge of the PWM signals are always generated at a fixed time instant, and occurrence of its trailing edge will be depend on the instantaneous amplitude xt. So PWM signal is said to be trail edge modulated PWM. That's why. And so here you can see we have generated at the output of the comparator with the PWM signal, and this comparator every time compare the value of the modulating signal and the sawtooth, and based on this the duration of your pulse is decided. Now, detection of PWM signal. The block diagram of PWM detection is in figure. The PWM signal received at the input of the detection circuit is contaminated with the noise. So PWM signal plus noise is, and it is entered to the pulse generator. This signal is applied to the pulse generator circuit, which regenerates the PWM signal. So some of the noise is removed and the pulses are squared up. The regenerated pulses are applied to the reference pulse generator. So this is here at the point B, the regenerated pulse are here, and these are applied to the reference pulse generator. It produces a train of constant amplitude, constant width pulses. These pulses are synchronized to the leading edge of regenerated PWM pulses by delaying by the fixed interval. The regenerated PWM pulses are also applied to the ramp generator. At the output of it, we will get the constant slope ramp for the duration of the pulse, and the height of the ramp signal is thus proportional to the width of the PWM pulses. And at the end of the pulse, a sample and hold amplifier retains the final ramp voltage until it is reset at the end of the pulse, and the constant amplitude pulses at the output of the reference pulse generator are then added to the ramp signal. So here they are added. The output of the adder is then clipped off at a threshold level to generate a PAM signal at the output of the clipper at point F, and a low pass filter is used to remove the original modulating signal back. A low pass filter is used to recover the original modulating signal back from the PAM signal, and the waveform of these circuits at different points A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You can see this is the waveform at point A, the PWM signal plus noise, the input to the detector, and this is the regenerated PWM signal at point B after the pulse generator, and this is the ramp signal at point C from the ramp circuit, output from the ramp circuit, and output from the reference pulse generator. It will be the reference pulse generated output, and so after adding these at point E, this is the output of the adder, and these upper values clipping level. So we will get these clipped value, and after passing it through the clipper, we will get these clipped values, and these are the pulses, and the amplitude of these pulses is varying. So, and after passing it through the low pass filter at the output of G, we will uh, estimate the your baseband signal. So this is the estimated baseband signal at the output of the low pass filter at point G. Now, advantages of PWM signal: less effect of noise, that is very good noise immunity there in PWM signal. Synchronization between transmitter and receiver is not essential, which is essential in PPM signal. And it is possible to reconstruct PWM signal from a noise contaminated PWM. This is possible to separate out signals from the noise, and which is not possible in PAM. And the disadvantages, due to the variable pulse width, the pulses has variable power contents. So the transmitter must be powerful enough to handle the power corresponding to the maximum width pulse. The average power transmitted can be as low as 50% of its maximum power. And in order to avoid any waveform distortion, the bandwidth required for PWM communication is large as compared to bandwidth of PAM. And if we talk about the application of PWM signal in the optical, it can be used in the optical fiber communication and in some military applications. And this is the end of this lecture. Here we have discussed about pulse amplitude modulation and pulse width modulation. This is 20th lecture of the lecture series of basics of communication engineering. In the next lecture I would like to discuss about pulse position modulation and comparison between PAM, PWM and PPM system. Till then, thanks for listening this lecture. Thank you.